What you're watching right now is a TAS, or a tool-assisted speedrun. Normally, these are created with an emulator of the game and dozens of tools to create a string of inputs that are played back, making something like this. However, it's actually possible to TAS games in a much more scuffed but accessible way, allowing you and anyone else to TAS literally any game that can run on your PC. I'm not going to be a holdup with an intro for this video, so I guess let's get right into it. Alright, first of all, you need to install the tools that are used to make a TAS. The first of these is Cheat Engine. You might be cautious to install Cheat Engine because of all the bloatware that it usually comes with. Fortunately for you though, in the first line of this video's description, I've linked a Google Drive link that contains a download for Cheat Engine, without the extra stuff, along with another file which I'll talk about in a minute. Once you download this file, unzip it and then open it. Once inside, you'll see a bunch of random folders that are irrelevant to this video. Scroll down until you see the .exe file simply named Cheat Engine, without any other numbers or letters or whatever. This is the one you'll use for TASing. I would recommend making a shortcut of this and putting it in your folder of TAS tools. Before we get into how to use Cheat Engine, let's talk about that other file in the link in the description. Check to see if the game you're TASing was made with Unreal Engine. If it was, just continue the video like normal. However, if your game runs on Unity or something else, this tool won't work, so skip to the timestamp on screen to get to the next part. With that out of the way, it's time to install Ue4ss, which has a bunch of useful tools to make TASing easier. Most prominently are the save states and access to the game's console. As a quick side note, this console also has its own slow-mo function, but it's really janky and doesn't run exactly the same as normal speed gameplay, which is why I'm glossing over it and recommend use of Cheat Engine for an actual TAS. Back to setting up Ue4ss, you're going to need to find your game's file directory. To do this, go to Steam, right-click on the game you're TASing, hover over Manage, and then click Browse Local Files. Once you're in the folder containing your game's .exe file, follow this file path on screen in video and what I'm about to say. The file containing the .exe file's name, binaries, Win64, and once you're there, you'll see another .exe file. This is where you'll place both files in the Ue4ss folder. I would recommend copying these files to this folder, especially if you plan on TASing multiple games. Okay, now it's time to use these tools to make a TAS. To start, you have to open up your game, obviously, along with Cheat Engine. The entire reason we're using Cheat Engine, by the way, is for its speed hack, right here in this checkbox. It's grayed out right now because we have to select our game to get it to work. To do that, click this box in the top left of the Cheat Engine window, and then find your game in the window that pops up. If you installed Ue4ss for your game, there will probably be two processes here that you can select. Click the one that has the same name as the one in your game files. Once you select it, the speed hack box will become available, and when you turn it on, there's a slider that has a bunch of preset speeds. A majority of these won't be useful for TASing, like anything above 5 times speed. What we're interested in is slowing down the game so we can speed it up later in a video editor. 0.5 and 0.25 work well in most cases, but you can use different speeds if you want to. Just make sure that you keep note of these speeds, whether it be mentally, on a sheet of paper, or in the names of the recordings. Whatever works. Once you find a speed that will be good for the section of the game that you're playing, start the recording. If you're making a full game TAS, you're going to want to do this in a cutscene, but if you're just testing a skip or want to show something off, then it doesn't really matter. Then record yourself playing in the slower speed. In sections that are more difficult, you're going to want to be able to splice there in case you mess up. This is most easily done by looking straight down while running. Then, in the second clip, I start by running a bit before the first clip ended so that I'm at full speed at the spot where I want to splice. Then I continue gameplay afterwards like normal. As you can see, I can end the first clip and then start the second one at the exact same spot, so you can barely tell there's a cut at all. This is made easier if you have Ue4ss installed. You can press F6 to make a save state at the spot that you're lining up your splice at. That way, you only have to line it up once, or even 0 times if you make a save state during your run. To get back to the save state, press F7. Unfortunately, the camera won't automatically align itself for some weird reason, so you're going to have to do that part manually. While I'm on the topic, let's take a look at all of the other Ue4ss tools. If you press F10 or the weird squiggle key to the left of your 1 key, huh? What's that? Oh, okay. Sorry, my boy Keyboard Kevin just called and told me that symbol is called a tilde. What the hell kind of name is that? Anyway, press either of those keys and it opens up the console, where you can type very useful commands. If you type prevviewmode, the game's lighting will turn off. You can type nextviewmode to turn it back on. You can type showdebug to see some debug information about the player, what their position is, what direction they're facing, and stuff like that. You can type pause to pause the game. Damn, Captain Obvious over here. Also, you can type t.MaxFPS and then a number to set the max frame rate to anything you want. This is really useful in sections of the game where lag is necessary for a skip or something. You can type toggle debug camera to move the camera around the map freely, which is fun to mess around with. This can be paired with FOV and then a number to set the camera's field of view, which can get some pretty sweet screenshots. Other than the console, there's two other actually useful tools in Ue4ss. The infinite jump mod, activated by pressing F5, which basically just lets you fly, and arguably the most useful tool in this entire mod, the trigger mod, activated by pressing F8. It lets you see load triggers, checkpoint triggers, invisible walls, and other random stuff the developers might have left in. This one is really helpful in many cases and doesn't change the gameplay at all, so you could technically have it enabled while TASing. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the actual TASing process, so I guess I'll just move on to editing. This is pretty self-explanatory, but what might be confusing is finding out how to speed up your footage by the correct amount. Fortunately, there's an easy way to do this for any number. Pull out your calculator. Yes, a calculator in a video game tutorial. This is secretly a math class. Okay, but seriously, the math we're doing is very simple. We're going to insert a 1 divided by the game speed we played at. I played at this wacky number earlier, which those of you who memorize the inverses of whole numbers for whatever reason will recognize as the inverse of 7. Pressing enter will reveal the exact amount that you need to speed up the game by. Put that into your video editor and your clips should be playing at normal speed. After that, you can set up your clips and splice them properly and you'll have made your very first TAS. Something that you might have noticed when playing back your clips is that the audio sounds like this. Yeah, that's the problem with this method of TASing. The game may have slowed down, but the audio won't. So you're going to have to mute the audio from your clip. If you want the audio for your game, you're going to have to record and painstakingly add the sound effects to the run. Or, alternatively, add some sick-ass music. So yeah, that's how you make a TAS of literally any PC game. If you have any additional questions, or there are things that aren't specifically clarified in the video, let me know and I'll answer them with a direct reply, and we'll post a pinned comment with the answer to that question as well. Alright, bye.